morning, Junior Leadership of Laramie County. I'm Lieutenant Megan Hoffman, and I work for the Wyoming National Guard Public Affairs Office and have for the last 7 years. Throughout my career, first enlisted, which meant as a traditional airman, I worked 1 week in a month and 2 weeks a year. Now as a full-time technician, I've had the opportunity to learn a great deal about the Wyoming Air National Guard and the opportunities that it can allow you to have. So with that knowledge today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how our unit is laid out in terms of different organizations and squadrons on base, what our mission and vision are, what we do daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly to accomplish that mission. If at any point in time you have questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to ask me, as I'm here to answer them. If I can't answer them for you, I'll find someone who can and get back to you. So why does the Wyoming Air National Guard exist? Well, according to our 153rd Airlift Wing public website, our mission is to organize, train, and equip forces capable of sustaining operations in support of our national, state, and community objectives. We accomplish that by providing combat airlift. This airlift is performed by our C-130H models, which you see pictured there. Our vision is to be a united military organization of empowered individuals building on our proud tradition of serving country, state, and community, leaning forward and ready to meet combat and peacetime challenges throughout the world. In other words, the vision of the wing is to always be improving our operations to effectively serve our state and nation. As I mentioned before, if you notice in that picture, that's a picture of a C-130H3 model, which is the airframe that the Wyoming Air National Guard flies. This is a four-prop turbo engine plane, which is pretty neat as it can use unpaved runways to take off and land, and it's basically designed to transport troops and cargo as well as do aeromedical evacuation. It can carry up to 90 passengers or 6 pallets of cargo, or a combination of the two. So now that you know the mission and vision and what airframe we fly, let's talk a little bit about how our organization is made up in terms of manning. So at the top of this picture, what you're going to see is, it may look a little bit confusing, but you're going to see wing commander right there. The wing commander and vice wing commander are basically the mom and dad of our base. They make decisions about funding. They make decisions about manning and who to hire, how many to hire, and what slots to put them in. Of course, they get this guidance from higher headquarters, but at the end of the day, the base operations and decisions are made by the wing commander and vice wing commander. Underneath them, you're going to see 4 different groups. You're going to see maintenance, you're going to see mission support, you're going to see operations, and you're going to see medical. All right, these 4 groups are further broken down into squadrons. Think of the groups as kind of like the wing commander and vice wing commander's children. And they run the big groups, which each have different squadrons or sections underneath of them. The medical group is in charge of doing all doctor and nurse related things, and they also perform dental services. The maintenance group performs maintenance on any vehicles or equipment around base, be it just regular rolling stock driving vehicles or aircraft. Our operations group is really, really neat, as this has a different set of personnel. The Wyoming Air National Guard was actually the first unit to ever have an active duty associate, which means that we have people from an active duty unit come here and work side by side with us. So the guard portion of our operations squadron is the 187th Airlift Squadron, and the active duty portion is the 30th Active Associate out of Little Rock, Arkansas. We also have the 187th Aeromedical Evacuation Squadron, who basically care for and transport injured and wounded patients out of combat zones. And then we have the 243rd Air Traffic Control Squadron, which is basically the people who control the air traffic in and out of our base, and also from our regional airport. The last group we have is our mission support group. They're by far the biggest group on base. You can see on the left hand side, and they have everything from logistics, which is like supplying parts in a big warehouse, to finance, to security forces, to the fire department, to personnel. So they do a lot of the day-to-day operations on base. The Air National Guard is also unique in that it's kind of dual-hatted in that it has a state and also federal mission. The federal missions fall underneath the authority of the President and include combat missions, humanitarian assistance, and national emergencies. Our state missions fall underneath the authority of the governor and are unique to the National Guard, as active duty personnel don't perform state missions, just Guard units. These missions include things like support to civil authorities for search and rescue, flood and fire support, sheltering, food assistance, mutual aid, renting out our local facilities, and a variety of other things. The Guard is unique in that we really do have two bosses. We have President Obama and Governor Meade. Depending on the requested support or crisis is going to depend on who will ultimately be the one in charge. Although ultimately we are always under the authority of the President of the United States, during state missions we usually fall under the authority of Governor Meade. What you see here in this video is an example of a state mission. This is flood support. You can see our National Guard members working side by side with members of the community. You're also going to see a hay bale falling out of the back of a C-130. We had a bad blizzard a couple of years ago, and our operations and maintenance guys went out and they loaded up the back of our C-130s with hay bales, and then they dropped them to farmers and ranchers who were unable to reach their cattle due to the bad snowstorm. What you're going to see in this next video is a C-130 landing on a dirt strip. This is unique to a C-130. We built a tactical dirt strip up in Guernsey, Camp Guernsey, Wyoming, and you'll see the C-130 landing on this tactical dirt runway, which is another neat aspect of the C-130s we fly, is we don't necessarily have to have paved runways for takeoff and landings. Another unique aspect of our maintenance and operations groups is that we perform modular airborne firefighting systems, or MAFS training. MAFS is the ability for us to put a large fire suppression system into the back of our aircraft. This fire suppression system is donated and belongs to the U.S. Forest Service. However, we're the ones that operate the mission, so we supply the pilots, the navigators, the flight engineer to fly the plane, to drop the retardant, to reload the red retardant into the plane, and build those fire lines. We partner with the U.S. Forest Service in that they are the ones who loan us, let us use their suppression systems. We are only one of 4 units who do this. There are 2 other Guard units, one in North Carolina and one in California, and there's also another reserve unit out of Colorado Springs who have this mission. As I mentioned earlier, the Mission Support Group is one of our biggest organizations on base. We have Command and Control, which does our classified communications and unclassified communications. Security Forces would be the equivalent of your civilian cops. Civil engineering would be the equivalent of a construction business on the outside. They build and maintain all of our facilities. And then you have Fire and Rescue, which is like our local fire department. You can think of this group kind of as the worker bees. They upkeep all of our facilities day to day and keep everything nice and everything running. Some neat stats for deployment for our wings is that we've had 117 air medals, 405 Afghanistan campaign medals, and 178 Iraq campaign medals. Based on our numbers, and that the Wyoming Air National Guard consists of just under 2,000 airmen, most of who are traditional, which means they work 1 week in a month and 2 weeks a year. That's pretty phenomenal numbers for our base. So in summary, the mission is just to organize, train, and equip our troops to respond to our state, communities, and nation in times of disaster or crisis. We're 24/7, 365. And we perform both state and federal missions, state under the governor and federal under the president. Again, I'm Lieutenant Megan Hoffman, and it was great to be able to brief you and talk to you today about the 153rd Airlift Wing. If you have any questions or concerns after this, I will be in the back to answer them, and also have my business card and that of our recruiters.